Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to episode number 88's After Show. We're talking about Enhancement Shamans with Purge and Werdup, and we're going to talk about stuff and take questions from chat room and Twitter and all that good googly nonsense. I lost it. The heat's getting to me. The heat's getting to me. I think there they are. Hello, gentlemen. Chat room, welcome back. All right.
Woohoo!
What was that?
Oh, it's getting worse.
He's getting worse. He's losing his mind. I want to open up real quick. We didn't get to talk about Glyphs at the end of the main show, so I'm going to put that real quick here, and then we'll go to chat room and stuff like that and questions or whatever. But I have set up here like Spirit Walk, Fire Nova Glyph, and Lava Spread are like pretty good. Do you guys have any other things you want to bring up for like really good major glyphs that should be considered in things and stuff? Purge?
Flame Shock.
Flame Shock?
Earth Shock can be used, but with the way that we are now with
you mean
4 pieces.
Frost Shock, you mean?
Sorry, Frost Shock, yeah.
Frost Shock, yeah.
It's on the brain.
Yes.
But it's been eked out a bit because we have a lot more good spells to use with the haste we have in Hellfire.
Yep.
And lastly, Shamanistic Resolve can be really situationally good because it is a massive cooldown.
Yep.
If there's something that you can use it for and you don't need to use Rage more often.
Mm-hmm.
And on that as well, regular Shamanistic Rage Glyph Dispelling can be good. I mean, it was great on Black Hand, so we could ground, then dispel ourselves, which was a lot of dispelling.
Mm-hmm.
And Frost Brand Weapon was useful on Gorfiend.
Yep.
So there's that. So there are some things we can use, but it's mostly really tiny benefits that we get. There's nothing wildly take it all the time. It's just spread and Nova and AoE, and then everything else is up to what you want help with.
I wish Lightning Shield, people might think like Glyph of Lightning Shield is actually pretty good, but like it doesn't trigger off of like ambient room, stupid garbage AoE. So like it actually like doesn't work very much.
It does sometimes.
Right.
It's it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent, and again, there's no real visual feedback.
Correct.
Letting you know when it's happening and when it's not happening. So it's like you just kind of have to try it on a fight, and then afterwards look at the combat log and see if it procced any time where it was useful, and if so, cool. This is a fight I can use this glyph on. If not, nope.
I mean, you can make a weak aura that shows when the buff is active on you. That's what I have.
Yeah, but I mean,
the
default UI should be able to express these sorts of things.
Sure. Yeah, you know, there should be something that pops up on your shaman or makes like your lightning, like your shield orbs like start glowing or pulsing differently or something like that. Yeah, or maybe like you get from 1 to 3 show up on your model, so you know the Glyph of Lightning Shield's active. Yep, I totally agree. Glyph of Lightning Shield, quote unquote. Trust me. Yeah. I've used Feral Spirit healing before on certain fights where you want to like amplify your survivability. You can go Flame Shock and Feral Spirit.
I mean, Feral Spirit was good on Council because you're taking a small window of massive damage, so it's good.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
giving you passive healing. It sort of fits the same bill as Shamanistic Resolve.
Correct.
It's just that Shamanistic Resolve is more versatile because Feral Spirit is tied into you using it for damage because you aren't going to hold it for the healing. So,
absolutely.
I mean, our glyphs are what glyphs should be, I think.
I believe that
very
too. I believe
options.
that too, yes.
Like, Fire Elemental the glyph has options. It can be used on some fights.
Correct.
But it's negative if you use it wrong, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
And things like Capacitor Totem is a dangerous glyph because it makes Capacitor so much better than it is.
Yeah, I think Ephemeral Spirits didn't really live up to the same usability that Fire Elemental did.
Right.
Because it's like reducing the cooldown of a cooldown that's already used pretty often, and it's like it doesn't gain you anything. It's like basically it's just like here's a glyph that lets you spend twice as many global cooldowns on Feral Spirit.
It's not very good. It's for PvP.
I mean, there was that really funny thing where you could have the constant move speed from the Feral Spirit bonus on tier 17 because the buff lasted 30.
Right.
Even though the wolves lasted 15, so you could have it up all the time. But that never, ever actually turned out to be useful.
Yep.
So, I mean, that glyph just never really took off. I mean, we've got Reflective Grounding. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. Is it just Grounding Totem? that reflects the spell back.
It's just
that
called grounding
could be
totem.
good,
Yeah.
but there's just nothing that we can use it on at the moment. But it
Yep.
could be. It has a
Yep.
lot of potential.
Yep. I mean, there's lots of options. We have lots of glyph options. Some of them are kind of redundant and now a little phased out. Of course, I have on minor glyphs that you should always have elemental familiars. And if you want to turn into a crafter, you can turn into a crafter. Those are pretty good. I actually have the Glyph of Ascendance now all the time because it's really good. It's like one of the best little things we've gotten in a long time, I feel. Because the Ascended elemental form always bugs out and you just like stand still and you're not actually moving your arms ever. You're just like, yeah. I'm doing it. You can't see me, but I'm doing it.
Our minor glyphs, we've had some fun ones in. I mean, Rain of Frogs was really fun when I got it, just because it's hilarious to rain frogs, and you've got the Flaming Serpent, which is a bit of a hark back to Warcraft 3, which is cool, and the Hearthstone, the free Hearthstone we get glyphs are the ones I use most of the time, just because it's so convenient.
Well, they nerfed that glyph because they nerfed the duration, the cooldown on Hearthstones now by default.
But it's like, or you can port to Orgrimmar, so you've got Stormwind for you, and so you've got an extra thing. So that's fun. Lake Stride is fun, so we can always get that water walking without having to cast it. And Glyph of Travel for the amazing Ghost Wolf, so we never have to mount.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Glyph of Travel is very good. Yeah.
I mean, the list of minor glyphs, I'd probably sacrifice a good majority of them if they just gave us one that made Stormblast or made Windstrike Stormblast, because
that's why I suggested
Windstrike looks
baby.
horrible.
That's why I suggested it. It should just look like it used to. There's no reason, like what Purge said, there's literally no reason why it shouldn't still look like the crazy chain lightning nonsense, because it doesn't do anything different. Yep.
That kind of ties into another topic that I would just touch on.
Oh?
The over nerfing of Stormblast and Elemental Blast. Like, okay, you nerf Stormblast, in the context of Mist of Pandaria, that makes sense. You nerf Elemental Blast in the context of Mist of Pandaria, that makes sense. Then you move to Warlords, where you increase everybody's health a lot. And you lower damage and healing relative to health a lot. So all of a sudden, like, our abilities that used to hit hard, not only were they nerfed so that to what in Warlords might have been a reasonable state, is now just tickle. You tickle everybody with even your big hitting abilities. They just don't do anything anymore, and that goes to the healing too. Like with Healing Rain, like, okay, take it off the Maelstrom glyph back then made sense because Enhancement was like a full healer if they wanted to be, sacrificing minimal damage because back then Lightning Bolt was only like 5% of our damage. Today makes less sense with Healing Rain as weak as it is. Like, you put Healing Rain down, it doesn't do anything. Like even if conductivity provided healing, and it doesn't, it just lowers the damage cost of applying Healing Rain. That's all it does, because you can still put Healing Rain down without the talent, right? Healing Rain doesn't do anything, so there's no even value in the talent.
Yeah, I still have the muscle memory sometimes to like panic Healing Rain when like a whole bunch of melees took a bunch of damage, like in a phase transition or whatever. Like, I'll panic Healing Rain. And I'll drop it and be like, oh wait, it's gonna take for like 800. Yeah. Oh man. It's frustrating. That's why, I mean, we've said in the main show that I think the 75 tier for Enhancement and Elemental should be completely reworked. I personally think that AG should be baseline for Enhancement and Elemental. Arguably, maybe not baseline for Restoration, because they have, at least that tier does something for their healing. But we need something that's like other types of raid-oriented utility. We talked about in the show before this Pillar of Earth idea, where you can make a little bit of a cooldown-oriented LOS. Like, you create a Pillar of Earth and you stand behind it to LOS things. I personally would like to see sort of a different version of Death Grip or Gorfine's Grasp made for Enhancement, where it's like an earth-bending move, like from Avatar, where the Shaman lays down a rectangular area within a 30-yard distance with their middle body being the center, and they can put a 30-yard rectangle anywhere around them in the circumference. And when they drop the spell, like on a 1 second cooldown, like a 1 second cast, something like that, or maybe an instant, it makes this like giant wall come out of the ground and then pull toward the shaman and then like break apart, dealing a little bit of damage, but then pulling things towards you because there's a monopoly on Death Grip and Gorfine's Grasp that something should be in that niche to help.
The thing is that there's a lot of things that push mobs away as a thing,
away.
but there's only one that brings them close. There's really not much utility that's like area manipulation, like
Correct.
like repulsion totem would have been
Repulsion totem would be
that.
yep, exactly.
Or something like a fissure that makes impassable terrain for mobs, so they're stuck on one side and we're on the other, so you can do that. Or things like using the animation that Thrall had at the end of Nagrand, where he picks something up. I mean, to have something that's not bound, so things that can't be rooted but could still be picked up by that. So, like, say you've got a situation where an ad needs to be dragged out because it's going to explode, and the tank's got to hold it. You can then pick it up. Tank can move away. It doesn't explode. He's fine. That's niche utility, but is cool and useful. So it doesn't have to be wild and insane. It could just be something fun, something a bit thematic.
No, I completely agree. They have plenty, and it's weird to me too because Thrall is such a huge character for Blizzard for a long time, and he has so many cool shaman abilities. But like shamans in game don't have anything that's that cool. Earthquake, guys, elemental shamans love it, right?
I mean, they've played with the line of sight idea before, anyway, because. Ring of Frost.
You have line of sight right now, old Curtain of Frost, but you have Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb can still LOS certain things.
Things like that, there's room for it to go in. The question is, are they willing to put something like that in and then design encounter mechanics that could potentially be broken by them, which is a lot harder then because there needs to be a reason for it to exist, surely.
I mean,
otherwise, it's just another PvP thing.
All right, I could spitball argue right now that like because there's only one Smoke Bomb mechanic, because I don't think Blizzard will ever create, or I hope, or I think that they shouldn't have these like only one class brings his ability, because essentially you could bring a lot of DKs.
You can argue that. You can argue that both ways though.
Right.
Like,
of course.
Right now, you can think of there are reasons why I definitely want a Death Knight in my raid.
Absolutely.
And these are things that only Death Knights can do. There's a reason why I want a Rogue in the raid, because these are things that only this Rogue can do. That a Rogue can do.
Correct.
That sentence doesn't fit with Shaman right now.
Only Restoration Shaman, not the DPS.
Sure, with Spirit Link.
Spirit Link, yeah, basically. And, Spirit Link and HTT and Ascendance are all really good throughput cooldowns, but...
Yeah, but Healing Tide is...
For DPS,
Spirit Link is the thing that's, like, unique...
Of course.
...to Resto.
Of course.
And it's also something that's been extremely useful.
Yes.
And more importantly, when you look at Resto's implementation of Echo of the Elements, they identified that as a cooldown it's really useful, so they gave them 2 charges of that.
Yep.
Whereas ours was just affecting our rotational abilities, so I mean, surely there's room to extend that in some way, and maybe as a later talent, or just alter that Echo of the Elements to make that part baseline and give us one that affects our cooldowns and give us charges. But the best way to do that would then be to remove Fire Elemental, because we don't need 3 cooldowns on charges, so 6 cooldowns effectively.
No, right. Like I'm with what Purge said earlier, that Storm Elemental and Fire Elemental, I would argue that I would like to keep Earth Elemental because we're a melee and we can use his shield wall if we want to, or he can taunt stuff off of us, right? But like Elemental Shaman should feel like this elemental summoning class. They already erupt the earth from underneath them and throw shards of earth. They already make earthquakes, right? They already throw molten globs of lava, right? They can summon the elementals, right? Enhancement should feel like,
and they can tune them to be good for elemental, because right now they're kind of held back.
Yeah, exactly. But Enhancement feels like it should be this melee spellcaster with feral spirits and ascending as an elemental, like infused melee hybrid caster, right? That controls like the battlefield at that point, right? Like that middle point, right? But right now we don't.
Like I think right now our Ascendance is a big point for me, because the utility that it provides is quite unique.
Sure.
And it is very good. I mean, it's not to the point where, you only bring Shaman, but it's that thing that no other melee can become ranged effectively and only
Very
have a
true.
minor penalty. But
Well, rogues
can't-
have shuriken toss.
they have Shuriken Toss and their new Archimage trinket. But, like, we never ever get to capitalize on that, really. Sometimes it's happened that something has pulled me out of range and I've been able to hit, and that's been great. But it's been almost accidental because I've got to just press the button because it's there.
Right.
I have to keep doing it because cooldowns are so intrinsically built into our kit.
We have anywhere between 4 and 7 cooldowns as an enhancement shaman, and like that's all we do, and that doesn't actually make us do anything because none of them interact in any way. The only ones you can even argue is EM with a elemental totem or EM with liquid magma, and that's like it. And we don't use EM anymore because of the reliance on Echo of the Elements, feeling like you need to have it to be good at what you do.
Ascendance is easily fixable by making it have a cooldown that can be manipulated if you want to use it for the ranged part, so it's more usable, so it's more interactive. Or you could give it charges so we can save the second charge to use aggressively for the ranged, or simply remove the ranged aspect from Ascendance, make Ascendance do just the damage increase, and give us something that makes us the ranged, so we use that separately. So say our Spirit Walker's Grace is ranged, then we get that completely for free. But it means that it's no longer a cooldown with utility that doesn't get used because it's a cooldown with utility.
Purge had the option too that I also agree with, that why can't enhancement shamans cast lightning bolt on the move?
That would make Elemental extremely angry.
There was a big point during the beta that a lot of enhancement shamans kept harping on, but it was like it made sense to take it away from Elemental.
It did.
I still don't think it made sense to take it away from Enhancement.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking through chat for any questions. No one's asking us questions. We're just kind of vamping off stuff. If you guys have questions, please feel free to bring up in chat or tweet at FinalBossTV on Twitter. So, yep. There are lots of things. I mean, there's so many plethoras of ideas we have here. And we've obviously gone over them for almost over, close to 2.5 hours now. So we just hope that getting that out in the webway right now will propagate such things, because it could really become something much better. I think out of all these classes we've talked about, and I've interviewed all of them but mages so far, there are obviously weaknesses and strengths to every different class, but I don't know if because I have more experience with enhancements, I've been playing it for so damn long, and I've seen the evolution of this like hybrid support, healer, burst, offensive, single target, AoE monster, and then like nothing else, and like just a weak at everything in the game. It's like a weird up and down pattern, and it's right now it's pretty down. So, do elemental shamans even cast lightning bolt anymore? Not with the new set bonuses with lava burst resets and earth shock stacking. But I mean, it's a filler for elemental. It's a thing. Elemental's filler is enhancement's finisher. Like,
the thing is, it could be made to be it already effectively does that. It's just that the tuning knobs need to be altered so that it is a finisher, and the other things are a little bit less strong in between.
Right.
I mean, or the other easy fix is to just take Elemental Blast out of the talent tree, give that, and then that's the finisher, and it's separate, and also fixes the problem of Elemental Blast being painfully underwhelming, because then we don't have to decide between Lightning Bolt and Elemental Blast.
Right.
Plus, it means that Elemental Blast's really cool animation gets used more, because at the moment it doesn't, and it's just sat there.
Only Resto Shaman use it, only because it's overly buffed to Resto Shaman once you need the Spirit. Once you don't need the Spirit anymore, you just spec out of it and take Unleash Fury for Resto. It's sad, too, because you don't get to see it. Yeah, that's right. Auroch wants to know, we talk about Lightning Shield and lack of anything other than reflect damage in the Glyph. That's a whole other topic, honestly. Lightning Shield had interactions, but when they ability pruned us and tried to remove some of our damage sources, which they removed 2 and added 2, like, it didn't do anything. Lightning Shield is very flavorful, I suppose, but honestly,
it's just another thing where it's like they could give us back Lightning Shield interaction, but that just means that, again, our primary abilities can't be buffed to be made not terrible. Because Hexeret, I don't know if you mean finisher move or execute.
I've always kind of argued that Enhanced Shaman's one of the only classes that doesn't have any rotational changes as having an execute style mechanic, where I think only like us, Boomkin, Arcane Mage doesn't have an execute change. I don't think every class needs an execute, but I had said before, I would love to see what if Lightning Bolt transcended and turned into like Lava Burst or even like Elemental Blast for an execute, you know? I don't know. There's possibilities, but doesn't mean we need something. But
I'd rather just like to see our core rotation have more of a... not necessarily like peaks and valleys where we're doing big damage and then really low, but more like it's got at least some sort of ebb and flow to it so that we are building up to it and then maybe not doing the same, because the flatline aspect is quite dull because we are just a line between cooldowns. We're doing the same all the way through, which is something that could be fixed relatively easily just by buffing one thing up and nerfing another one down. It's just whether they want to do that. Because at the moment, we haven't... It's like a dangerous topic to go, but we haven't got that much to our class that sets apart playing it well.
Right.
At the moment. It has had it in the past, and it's had it really well in the past, but at the moment, it's just not. There's no resources to manage. Yeah. There's very little procs to react to. It is just business as usual. So as soon as you get to the point where you do your rotation relatively well, if you activate the priority list in the right order as often as possible, you'll stay the same then for a very long time.
Yeah, there's plenty of options. Red Flower, you brought up, like, what if Lightning Bolt could affect up to 3 targets for each time it deals damage? Like, if Lightning Bolt cleaved, be a little bit winky-walky. One of our options we suggested when we were discussing the show last night was that Lava Lash should literally be a cleave. It is the cleave animation. It just has a lava texture on top of it.
Well, making the resets from Flame Shock proc like
the Flame Shock reset
buff.
Lava Lash should cleave up to one target plus up to 2.
So we get like a Lava Surge buff on us that makes the next Lava Lash cleave 1 or 2. So that
I would say 1 plus 2, yeah.
So we don't have this thing where our single target's not great, but it's still relatively competitive,
right,
to the point where we aren't miles behind. But then our cleave between the period of like 2 to 4 mobs is low, really low, and then suddenly it explodes after that, which as an AoE niche isn't good. You need a slow incline at least, so that if you're brought for AoE, you aren't punished for when mobs start to die.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, not every class needs to be good at every single aspect. That's why Demonology Warlock got under the microscope a lot, even though it's still really good, because they could do anything, or an Arcane Mage now that can do everything. Yeah. But that's another issue. But
I think one of the issues that specifically we're talking about with Enhancement, and it's not unique to Enhancement. There are other classes that are ultra specialized, like Enhancement is, like say Feral has pretty much the polar opposite flip, where they're all single target, specifically like keeping on this one target. Like they don't do rapid target swapping well or anything. They don't do AoE well. So it's like they're specifically single target, focused. We're specifically sustained, largest number of target AoE focused. Like that creates a really big issue when what you're good at isn't there. And if that's the only thing you're good at, especially, like there are classes, I agree, different specs should have different weaknesses, but I don't think the weaknesses should outnumber the strengths to the extent that they do now.
Right.
Like literally, if it's not sustained large target AoE, Enhancement is awful at literally every other encounter type you can think of.
Yep. That's the main issue here. Yeah.
We have the baselines, like our target switching had our spells been brought up a bit, and our priority damage, especially with the 4-piece now, is relatively good if you have it. If things did just a little bit more damage, being able to switch Unleash and then double Lightning Bolt or Storm Strike double Lightning Bolt is quite a lot of damage on demand, and there's not much work that you need to do to have that available and ready. But we don't have that, and we don't have Cleave, and we don't have single target. Really, it's just
and neither does our other spec.
Yeah. And our alternative
that's the huge issue has
literally the same skill set.
Even though I would argue that obviously Elementals like 2 to 4 target cleave is much better than ours. But
Uh-huh.
then their pitfall is that if it's actually real AoE, or if it's burst AoE, or if it's
Or
like
if it's
burst single
mobile.
target, or if it's mobile, you're just screwed. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's the biggest problem is that as a hybrid melee who hasn't got an option to switch between the specs that fit the same bill, giving a really hyper specialized niche doesn't operate well in that world. I mean, when you've got pure classes that have 3 DPS specs, giving them really specific niches like burst AoE or sustained AoE or priority target switching or cooldown based damage, things like that is fine because they're going to be able to switch between the specs that have maybe got a single target focus or maybe got the other thing that they needed, that focus. Because then they'll always be able to adapt to the situation. When you're a hybrid, you have not got that. And if you give something that's so hyper specialized that doesn't appear all the time, then you've not got an option.
Right.
Because Feral has got the advantage that it hasn't really got the way to switch. Although, Feral single target Moonkin's AoE, it is still different gear.
But look
so
at-
they can't switch. But
Right.
Feral's single target focused, and there is never a fight where single target is not important.
Well, but
because there
you
is always a
can't-
boss to kill.
But you can argue that the same thing we argue about, like how like the hybrid, like we should have, if we don't bring all those kits to damage, we should have like the utility side. But Feral Druids, even though the AoE and their cleave is garbage and their single target is amazing, they still have Typhoon or Ursol's Grasp or Battle Reses or Roar.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, they have all these things that they can still bring anyway, right?
I mean, the most ironic thing with Feral is that compared to us who had an off healing niche, they've got that and we haven't. We had it completely ripped out, and they've almost had it encouraged. It's not. I mean, it's nowhere near the level that
The
it
Blood
was or
Talons.
could have been.
Yeah, you're right.
But having that, being able to rejuvenation while in cat form and having dead globals means that you can't do anything else. You can just off heal. You've got Nature's Vigil that's better than Ancestral Guidance in virtually every way. You've got Dream of Scenarios that can let you heal other people whilst healing yourself. That's good healing utility. That's an example of how
Ysera's
our
Gift
healing
exists.
tier
Yeah.
should be, not an example of of how it should be done. So you've got direct comparisons instead of what we have, which is no off healing really.
Yep. Well, Werdup, I want you to post. Can we get links to your different the EU and the US posts? That would be wonderful for chat room. You guys can go join the conversation there. Jump on this. Purge, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Think that about covers it.
Okay. I'm hitting the button then. Thank you all. Oh, that's a little low on the volume. There it is. Thank you all for tuning in. Episode number 88 of FinalBossTV, your Wild Game Rating Show for Enhancement Shaman. Next week is Mages. Hopefully, goodness me gracious, I will posting the guests coming up. It might be a 2-guest show. I would love to be a 3, but a lot of them are still raiding right now and going hardcore ham in the paint or ham on the core, whatever you want to say. But we'll see. I'll update you on that. Then there will be a very special episode, August 2nd. There was sort of a teaser tweet about it a couple days ago. There'll be more coming up. There'll be an official promo graphic for that one. But August 2nd is a very special one coming up in the future. But again, for the episode today, let's go around the table again. And there's Werdup posting things. There's the EU and the US versions of the post. You can please go join in on those as well. You can link the MMO Champion one too if you want to jump on that. But, you can follow him on Twitter as well at VON_Werdup, Von Werdup, with a O instead of an E. But thank you, sir. Being on the show was a pleasure. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Thank you. And then we also had Purge came back on the show, which, he's probably a cat in real life. No one really knows. I have no idea. His shaman's name was actually Surge, not Purge, because of a name change, server transfer shenanigans. But, sir, thank you for on the show again.
Happy Fire Nova!
Oh my god. We need to get out of here. He's turning into something we can't handle anymore. But there's the MMO Champion post as well. Of course, I'll have all 3 of those posts in the YouTube down the bottom, so you can join in and read the giganticness and then, rebuttal and join in the conversation. And, I'll see you on the weekly stream. I'll see you in the YouTube comments. I'll see you on Facebook and Twitter. And if you have questions for mages, please send them in to FinalBossTV at the Ask a Boss button down below. And trusting your seal of inevitable fate? Goodness
That's
me.
what it is now, the green one.
Trust in your seal of inevitable gold. And until next week, everybody. Bye-bye. Wave bye. Word, wave bye. There we go. Perfect.